Well, welcome to this episode of the Good Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Good. Our guest for this episode is Hal Elrod, who's on a mission to elevate the consciousness of humanity one person at a time. He is also the best-selling author of several books, including The Miracle Equation and The Miracle Morning, which has sold over 2 million copies. In this episode, we will see that a miracle is not just some remarkable event, it's a choice. It's about understanding that you have the power to shape your own reality and to manifest the life you've always dreamed of. By nurturing and upholding unwavering faith and persisting with extraordinary effort until you succeed, you can generate the outcomes that surpass even your own perceived limits. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Good Leadership Podcast, where we engage with esteemed thought leaders and explore research-backed strategies and techniques that empower leaders at every level to achieve meaningful results that drive lasting change. Welcome to the program, Hal.
Charles, I am grateful to be here, and this is going to be a lot of fun. And let's help people. Anybody listening?
Love to just unpack the term miracle first, because you say there's two types of miracles in your life. There's the random miracles that are kind of passively experienced, and then there's the more tangible, measurable miracles. Perhaps you can unpack the difference between the two and give us a definition of what you consider a miracle to be.
Yeah, miracle, it's kind of a loaded word. And I think most people, when they think of a miracle, it's something that you pray and wait for, right? You hope for a miracle, you pray for a miracle, or something happens that was unexpected and you go, oh my God, that was a miracle. And yeah, the way that I'm talking about miracle, the context here are those that we have the power to create. And I call them tangible, measurable miracles. And so it's where you achieve a goal or you overcome a challenge that was so difficult, so seemingly impossible, that when you overcome that challenge or you achieve that goal, you go, oh my God, it feels like a miracle. I can't even believe that happened. And so for me, when I was 20 years old, I started deconstructing I started deconstructing every goal that I had achieved and what other people who were really successful had achieved. And I broke it down to two decisions. Those that achieve these extraordinary, tangible, measurable miracles, they maintain unwavering faith that they can overcome or accomplish whatever it is that they want to. While most of us, our faith is dependent on our results. Right. So if you, in the beginning, you might have faith, like I've got this big goal, I'm excited, and I'm going to do it. But then if you run into roadblocks or challenges or experience setbacks or you fail to reach the goal, then all of a sudden your faith wavers. Your faith you're leaving it dependent on results along the way. And if you look at extraordinarily successful people that have accomplished these amazing feats, they were faced with challenges and setbacks and failures, yet their faith didn't waver. They maintained unwavering faith until they achieved their result. Whether it took them 5 years or 10 years or a lifetime, they maintained that faith, which allowed them to keep moving forward when most people would have given up. And the second decision is extraordinary effort. And that doesn't mean you're working, tirelessly 80 hours a week. It means these people consistently took one step forward after another step, and sometimes they took a step or two back, but they continued putting forth the extraordinary effort, which is really just consistent effort over an extended period of time. And so that miracle equation for me was how I achieved success as a young person. It's how I overcame being hit by a drunk driver, and all of these experiences in my life that you alluded to were all with those two decisions: unwavering faith and extraordinary effort.
That's great to hear. And just to kind of set the context is that you were not destined for greatness when you were born. Up until you started working at Cutco in your early 20s, you were pretty average. Nothing special really in terms of your gifts or your potential. But when you began working at Cutco, things started to change. And especially, you note this in the Miracle Equation book, is that one sales push of Cutco that you wanted to get, I think, $20,000 in sales, and not just 14 days, but actually 10 days. And those two decisions really made a big difference in accomplishing that goal and then setting your life possibly on a different trajectory.
Yeah, no, I think that saying I was average is, more like mediocre is probably more accurate. In fact, I often joke when I'm sharing my Cutco story that the only record I ever broke before Cutco was I set the record for the most hours of detention that anyone at my high school had ever accumulated. It was like 180 hours of detention. I had to do all sorts of like community service and stuff because there weren't enough hours in the day for me to graduate to get that detention done. So I was a class clown. I didn't get very good grades. I wasn't an athlete. We all know people that like they've been, from the beginning, you're like, man, that kid, he's something special or she's something special. And wow, everything they touch turns to gold. They're a straight A student. They're popular. They have great interpersonal communication skills. They get great grades. They're a peak athlete. And I was none of those things. And so to your point, right, it wasn't looking like I was destined for greatness. And on my second day of my Cutco sales training, which a friend of mine had drugged me in there. I did not want to do it. I wasn't a salesperson. It was just like, all right, I get this guy off my back. My friend Teddy, I said, I'll get you off my back. If I'll go through the training, I'll give it a week and then I'll quit. Right. And on my second day of sales training, we learned about something called the Cutco Fast Start Record, which basically was the first 10 days in a Cutco career. It's called the Fast Start. And the company sets you up with a lot of incentives to try to motivate you to get a really fast start to your career so that you have some discipline and these attributes that will lead to long-term success. On the second day of training, we learned about the company Fast Start Record, which a young lady my age at 19 years old, she had just broken the record 2 weeks prior. And in that moment, I had a thought which became a belief. And I believe this is one of the most important beliefs for any of us to embody. And the thought was, well, if she could do it, why not me? Like she's not living in Beverly Hills. She actually lived like 30 minutes from me in the Central Valley of California. It wasn't some fancy area. And I just thought if she could do it, maybe I could do it. Why not me? And I think it's so important that most of us have a different perspective when we see people that are very successful. We create a separation in our mind of, oh, they're different than me. They're better than me. If only I had what they had. If only I had the youth or the resources or the knowledge or the charisma, right? We find all of the things that they have that we don't believe we have that are different. And in that moment, and for all of us, anybody listening, we've got to find the commonalities. And the first most fundamental commonality is they're a human being and you're a human being. And as a human being, they have the same fears and insecurities and lack of motivation and they feel tired and fatigued. But they choose to do the right thing. They do the thing they need to do. And so we have that ability. And for me, I went, if she could do it, why not me? And then thank God I had a mentor because I would have quit on my first day out. I went 0 for 4 or 0 for 3. And I called my manager. I was ready to quit, but I couldn't quit because I gave him my word. I was going to give it everything I had for 10 days. But I called him. I said, I have to tell you, I know I gave you my word I wouldn't quit, but I feel like there's no way I can achieve this goal. I can't even sell a single knife. I'm 0 for 3. And he said, Hal, I would imagine you feel like quitting right now. I said, yeah. He said, let me ask you a question. He said, it's kind of rhetorical, but I'd like you to answer. Do you want to be successful in your life? I said, yes, of course. He said, okay, in this situation, what do you think a successful person would do? Would they quit? I said, no. They would probably get on the phone and schedule as many appointments as they possibly could for tomorrow and just keep going and do the best they can. He goes, why don't you do that? And I go, okay. I still didn't feel like it. I was discouraged, but I got on the phone. I scheduled, I think what was it? 9 appointments for the next day. I had 7 sales. I sold $2,678 of Cutco. And now I was ahead of the pace I needed to be of $1,200 per day to break this record that she had set at $12,000. And so after those 10 days of ups and downs, and I had 23 people not buy from me and 40 people buy from me. I mean, it was below company averages. I just outworked everybody else. And that was something that for me, I never had a work ethic until Cutco. I never had a work ethic my whole life. I was very lazy, but having a mentor and having a goal and committing to the mentor so that I had accountability to give it everything I had until the last possible moment, that was what enabled me to literally in 10 days become a completely different person. I reinvented myself by simply committing to a goal and having somebody hold me accountable to follow through.
Impressive. And that miracle equation really comes down to those two decisions. And to help with that unwavering faith, you have a mantra, a miracle mantra that you told yourself every day, and it's I'm committing to maintaining and an unwavering faith that I will, insert your mission into and put forth extraordinary effort until I do, no matter what. And there is no other option because people, the really successful people, have a lot of faith, right? And they have unwavering faith over a long period of time. You mentioned, famous people in the book from Dr. Seuss to Babe Ruth to Vincent van Gogh. None of them experienced success right away. There's lots of ups and downs. It's a long game approach that you need to take, and many people quit too soon. So it's important to keep that unwavering faith by mantras like what you have, these affirmations that help you stay committed for the long term.
Yeah, here's a one way to look at it for anybody that is considering this. Think about if you live your life where your faith in yourself and your abilities is dependent on your day-to-day results. Right? Good luck finding a person that every day went according to plan and they just it was smooth sailing, right? You don't find that. It's very rare that you would ever find a person that didn't have to overcome a variety of challenges on their journey to achieve what they wanted in their life. So if you allow your faith to be wavering and dependent on these day-to-day results, you're going to give up. You're going to make it extremely hard on yourself because you're going, oh man, I'm not on track. It's that self-talk. And for me, the way you maintain unwavering faith, you mentioned that the mantra, the miracle mantra, right? I am committed to maintain unwavering faith and putting forth extraordinary effort to achieve this goal. And I'm paraphrasing. I know it might not be word for word, but the point is, you're simply committing that I'm going to maintain unwavering faith in writing. You have to have it in writing. For me, when I first created the miracle equation, it was a year and a half into my Cutco career. I had had this car accident and I was trying to bounce back and I was trying to break an all-time company record and sell more in those 10 days that you mentioned than anyone had in the 52-year history of the company. And I was really scared. I was really nervous that I was afraid of failure, just like anybody. I think it's funny, by the way, or not funny, but when we see people that are successful, we assume they don't have the same fears and insecurities that we do, which is completely untrue. They just do the things they needed to do and they override the fear with faith and they override feelings of laziness by committing to put forth the extraordinary effort, which means doing the things you need to do when you don't feel like it, right? And so when I was setting out to achieve that goal, I reverse engineered it. I go, okay, man, this goal feels pretty close to impossible. I'm trying to do something that no one has ever done. There's been over 1 million Cutco sales reps in the 50-year history of the company. I'm trying to do something they've never done before. And then so I was scared, but I reverse engineered it. And here's what started this. I remembered a quote that one of my mentors, Dan Cassetta, taught me. And I believe it's a Jim Rohn quote. And Jim Rohn said, and I'm going to paraphrase, the purpose of a goal is not to reach the goal. The purpose of a goal is to become the type of person, in other words, develop the qualities that you need to achieve extraordinary goals. You might not hit this one, but if you commit and give it everything you have, then you're going to develop the mindset and the discipline required to achieve future goals. In other words, it's more about who you become in the process. And so when I applied that to my goal, I thought, oh, I can't fail. If I give it everything I have for the next 10 days, I may or may not reach the goal. I could fall short, but that doesn't change the growth I'm going to experience. I'm going to become a different version of myself on the other side of these 10 days. And so I reverse engineered it. I thought, okay, what might prevent me from reaching this goal? Well, number one, it's that I don't have faith that I can reach it. As soon as I give up the faith that I can reach the goal, the effort's going to go right out the window. Once I lose faith, I'm not going to have the drive, the fuel, the energy that I need. So I thought, okay, I have to maintain unwavering faith. And at that time, I didn't call it my miracle mantra. I just said, I am committed to selling $20,000 during this push period, no matter what, there's no other option. That was my miracle mantra on day one. I evolved it when I wrote the book and thought what would be more effective. But that was day one. Just I'm committed to reaching this goal no matter what. There is no other option. And then the extraordinary effort was the second piece. I went, well, if I don't have faith, I'm not going to try. Or if I'm not on track, I'm not going to feel motivated. And I know myself. I'm not going to put forth the effort needed. And that's true for all of us. If you don't believe you can reach a goal, how many people go, well, it looks like there's no shot I've got at this goal. So I'm going to give it everything I have with all of my energy. And no, it's like, this sucks. I'm not on track. Oh, well, I'm going to go watch TV. I'm going to go, like, we fizzle out. And so I realized the only way I can make this seemingly impossible goal reality is I have to maintain unwavering faith verbally. Every time I have a no sale, I'm going to recite that mantra. I am committed to selling $20,000 in these 10 days, no matter what. There is no other option. And I can't tell you, Charles, how many times I had to repeat that with energy and enthusiasm that I had to generate because I felt scared and I felt depressed and I felt worried and I felt insecure and I was not on track for my goal. In fact, the way the story played out, it was 10 days. The first 7 days, I sold $7,000 of Cutco and my goal was 20,000. That means I had to sell $13,000 in the last 3 days. Put yourself in those shoes, right? You'd be like, there's no way. I just gave it everything I had for 7 days and I barely got to $7,000. It's next to impossible that in the next 3 days, I'm going to somehow sell $13,000. But I maintained unwavering faith and I kept saying that mantra, even though deep down I didn't believe it. I was like, I don't know. But the mantra got me to keep moving forward, keep putting forth the extraordinary effort, keep doing the thing. And Charles, it wasn't called the miracle equation until after those 3 days. Because the way those 3 days, and I know you've read it in the book, like the way they unfolded, no human being could have ever predicted that person would have shown up at that time and would have been in the market for a bunch of knives and they had a sister that needed knives and on and on and on. Like it just played out and I ended up at $20,017. And it was the last hour that I literally had to drive straight from my last appointment to the conference, walk up on stage with the other, 500 reps at the conference and compete for the number one spot. But that's when I went, dude, that's the miracle equation. I combined unwavering faith with extraordinary effort until the last possible moment. And I created a tangible, measurable miracle, a result that was so far beyond what was likely or probable that it feels like a miracle.
So that's great. And those two decisions, extraordinary effort, the one that you spoke about as well. Successful people make it a habit of doing what unsuccessful people don't want to do. They're committed to the process. They follow it consistently over a long enough period of time. I see this a lot with leaders. They just don't do it long enough to see those tangible results. They want that drive-through breakthrough, those instant results, and it just doesn't happen that way. And the other piece is which I love what you state in the book, is they release the emotional attachment to the results. It's about the process. Whether or not you achieve it or not, like what you stated earlier from Jim Rohn about that goal quote, it's not achieving the goal, it's the character, it's the qualities that you're going to embody as a result of trying to go after it. Because I'm sure there's many times in your life where that miracle equation didn't produce maybe the results you wanted, but you still gained valuable insights from the experience.
Yeah, you think of it this way. Every goal is an opportunity to grow, to learn, grow, and become better than you were when you attempted the goal, right? So let's just say you set 10 goals, right? The first one you don't achieve, but you give it everything you have. You maintain unwavering faith before the extraordinary effort. Maybe you get close, but you fall short, right? But you go, wow, I learned, I grew, I became a better version of myself through the commitment to that goal and giving everything I had. I didn't reach the goal. Okay, great. Goal number 2, you go for it. Maybe you hit it, you reach it, right? With the same unwavering faith and extraordinary effort, you apply the miracle equation and you continue, though, to grow. The point is, let's say out of those 10 goals, you hit 5 of them and you don't hit 5 of them, but you approach all 10 of them with the miracle equation, unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. Think about who you are, the mindset you've developed over those 10 goals, the habits that you've instilled, the discipline, the qualities, the skills you've developed, the capabilities, right? Every goal you attempt, some you reach, some you don't, but every goal you attempt with that miracle equation approach, you become a better version of the person that started to achieve the goal or attempted to achieve it. And so, yeah, so it's just this constant process where, 2 goals later, 3 goals later, 5, 10 goals later, you're just getting better and better at achieving goals. And right, you're not in life, you're not only living life for one goal at a time, right? You're in it for the long haul. We're going to be around for decades. And so you're developing the ability to be a goal achiever, and then you can apply that to bigger and bigger and bigger and more profound and more seemingly impossible goals, and the things you will achieve, right, will astound you and everybody that watches you.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about how it is to build a miracle life. And you have the ABC approach. And these three concepts are common sense, but common sense is in common practice. And the first I really like to touch upon is accept life exactly as it is. Because with your first rock bottom moment of your life, that horrible car accident when you were 20 years old, you could have chosen to view that car accident, which really it was life or death. You weren't expected to survive it. You could have chosen to be discouraged, disempowered, say things like it's not fair, I don't deserve this fate. Why did it happen to me? Or you could choose a different state of mind and accept life as it is. And from your Cutco experience, you learned this mantra and the 5 minute rule that kind of helped you put things in perspective. Because it sounds like when you were in the hospital, the doctors were even telling your parents that, Hal's going to recover, but I don't think he's right in the mind. He's not processing his emotions correctly. And that really wasn't the case.
Yeah. Yeah, so I learned this once again in my Cutco sales training, but it really was tested after my car accident. So for those that don't know, right, I was hit head on by a drunk driver at 70 miles per hour. I was then broadsided in my driver's side door by another vehicle going around 70 miles per hour. And I broke 11 bones. I immediately went into a coma, which I think was the body's protective mechanism, because I would have been experiencing unimaginable pain with my leg. My femur was broken in half. My pelvis was broken in three places. My arm behind my bicep, the humerus bone, was broken in half. I shattered my elbow. I severed the radial nerve of my left arm. My eye socket was completely crushed. My left ear was almost completely severed, and the top of my skull, the roof buckled and it sliced a V in the top of my skull. And I came out of the coma. Well, my heart stopped for 6 minutes at the scene of the accident. I was clinically dead for 6 minutes. And then I was airlifted to the hospital with a medevac helicopter. I spent 6 days in a coma. When I came out of the coma, I had to face this unimaginable reality. And to your point, what the doctors were saying, it was about a week after I came out of the coma, 2 weeks after the crash, that the doctors called my parents in and they said, "We believe Hal is in denial. He's always happy. That's not normal for a 20-year-old at the time who's being told he's never going to walk again and he has permanent brain damage." They said, "We need you to talk to him and find out how he's really feeling." And so my dad came in and he explained the doctor's concern. He said, "Hal, the doctors say that you should be sad, scared, angry, or depressed right now, that those are the normal emotions. It's okay to feel that way, Hal. You don't have to, pretend everything's okay and great and positive." And I said, "Dad, I thought you knew me better than that. Remember, I learned something in my Cutco sales training called the 5 minute rule, which simply states when something goes wrong in your life, and in the context of Cutco, it was like if a customer cancels an order or doesn't buy from you or doesn't show to their appointment or you don't hit your goal for the week. When you find yourself feeling upset, we were taught to set our timer on our phone for 5 minutes. And the 5 minute rule says you literally give yourself 5 minutes to feel your emotions fully rather than suppressing them, which many of us do. Go, it's fine, I'm okay, right? And we don't actually process the emotion. And we were taught set your timer for 5 minutes. And sometimes, depending on what happened, you might need another 5 minutes. I think I needed 5 days after I woke out of the coma, if I'm being honest, right? It wasn't a 5 minute deal. But the point is, I learned the 5 minute rule where you set your timer for 5 minutes. And when it goes off, you say three very powerful words. After you allow yourself to be upset, no, this isn't fair. I didn't deserve this. Why did this happen? The timer goes off and you say three powerful words. Can't change it. It's a simple acknowledgement that I can't change what happened 5 minutes ago. So there's no point in wishing it didn't happen. I have really two choices. I can either continue to resist my reality, wish this didn't happen, which is the cause of our emotional pain. It's important to understand that. All of our emotional pain is self-created by our resistance to reality, but we've never been taught that, or most haven't been taught that, where we have been falsely conditioned to believe that when something happens that you're upset about, you blame someone or something for why you're upset, and it's their fault. Think about it. Of course I'm angry. Didn't you hear what she said to me? Of course I'm angry. It's her fault I'm angry, right? Oh, of course I'm sad. Don't you know what I lost? Right? Of course. But here's the proof that it's never the fault of the person or the thing outside of us for why we feel the way we feel. Here's the proof: the same exact tragedy could befall two different people. And if the tragedy were what were responsible for the way someone felt, here's the reality: is one person can be miserable and go, this isn't fair, I don't deserve this, my life is over, I'll never be happy again because of this horrible thing that happened to me. That's person number one's mindset. Person number two could have had the exact same tragedy befall them, and they go, yeah, I'm not, my life's not over. I mean, this is really difficult, don't get me wrong, I would have never wished for this, but it's my reality. So the only choice I really have from my perspective is I'm going to make the best of it, I'm going to overcome this adversity, I'm going to become a better version of myself through that process, and there's that better version of me on the other side of it. So I'm grateful for this challenge because it's going to make me into a better person. Same exact tragedy, two completely different responses and mindsets and responses to the tragedy. And so for me, I said, Dad, I can't change that I was in a car accident, but I get to choose how I respond. So I'm completely at peace. I'm accepting my reality exactly as it is. I have 11 broken bones. Apparently, I have permanent brain damage. I might never walk again. Now, I'm not accepting that as my fate because I don't know, and neither do the doctors. I'm going to maintain unwavering faith that I can walk again. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to visualize, I'm going to imagine it's possible while I simultaneously accept whatever reality comes to pass. And I've decided, I told my dad, Dad, if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I've decided I will be the happiest, most grateful person that you've ever met in a wheelchair, because I can't change that I'm in a wheelchair if that ends up being what happens, but I can choose how I respond to it. And so, Charles, I share that story because that is where the A in the ABCs of the miracle life came to pass: to accept reality exactly as it is. And the last thing I'll say is this: it doesn't mean you're happy about it, but it's far more powerful than that. I wasn't happy that I was in a car accident. I wasn't going, oh, this is great. I was going, man, this sucks. This is horrible. However, it wasn't about being happy. It was about being at peace with it. And happiness is an emotion that's fleeting. You could be happy one minute, and now you're upset if you get bad news. When you live your life in a state of unconditional acceptance, where you accept reality exactly as it is, no matter what life throws at you, you might not be happy about it, but you are at peace. And unlike happiness that's fleeting, peace is an ever present, unwavering state of consciousness from which you can experience all of life's challenges or whatever life throws your way, and you can remain at peace with it. And from that place of peace, you can then choose to focus on the things that you have to be grateful for, so you can generate and foster feelings of joy and love and gratitude and happiness.
You're right, and acceptance is a key that unlocks that door to emotional invincibility. It's the acceptance provides you that inner freedom. Gratitude, the be grateful part of living a miracle life is, it opens the doorway for happiness, right? Because there's always something to be grateful for. Why do we look in the rear view mirror to say, here are some of the greatest moments in our life, that if we're just more grateful and present in each and every moment of your life can be one of those great moments.
Yeah, that you remind me of something. This was my favorite passage that I wrote in the Miracle Life chapter in the new Miracle Morning book. So that's that for anybody wondering. That's where the Miracle Life exists right now until I write it as its own book. It's a 25-page chapter at the end of the Miracle Morning updated and expanded edition. But you brought up something. So if you're listening now, imagine if I were to ask you, or I'm asking you, what was the best moment of your life? That's a loaded question, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta scan my memory. What you'd probably do is you'd probably choose some extraordinary event or circumstance, right? Like the birth of your child, or your wedding day, or the day you got, you were recognized for some huge accomplishment that you worked so hard for. You would find some isolated incident as the best moment of your life. And what I want to encourage and challenge everyone to consider is that every moment of your life, every single one, can be the best moment of your life. It does not have to be a competition between moments. Well, no, that one's better than that one, and this one's not as good. It's literally a lens through which you can experience life. And here's the answer in terms of, well, how could every be like, why would every moment be the best moment of your life? Here's a perfect example. Charles, right now, this moment is the best moment of my life because I'm talking to you. This morning, I was doing my miracle morning, and as often as I can, I always try to get in that best moment of my life framework, going, it's the best moment of my life because I'm doing my miracle morning. It's the best moment of my life when I'm talking to my daughter. The other day, I was playing T-ball with my son, and I just stopped and paused, and I go, wow, thank you, God. This is literally the best moment of my life. And here's the thing. I would challenge anyone to prove me wrong. That how could you argue that playing T-ball with my son wasn't the best moment of my life, or this interview with you, Charles, or my miracle morning this morning, or my car accident. In fact, great example. Um, when I was in the hospital with my car accident, I chose to be the most grateful I had ever been in my life. And I was smiling. That's why the doctor thought I was in denial, because I was so happy. But it was not a fake happy. It was like, hey, I can't change that I was in a car accident. I'm going to accept my reality exactly as it is so I can be at peace with it. And then I'm going to choose the B in the ABCs of the miracle life, which is to be grateful for every moment, not just the good ones, but the challenging ones, because the most difficult moments of our lives are typically where we experience the most growth if we choose to see it that way. But when I had cancer, I same thing. 7 years ago, I was in the hospital with cancer. There's a clip in the Miracle Morning documentary. There's a movie for those that don't know, the Miracle Morning movie. And in the documentary, one of my favorite scenes, I was in excruciating pain. The nurse had accidentally stabbed me in the nerve with chemotherapy instead of my spinal column, and I had horrific migraines for 11 days. And I was bawling my eyes out. I was in so much pain. And I handed my phone to my dad. I said, Dad, will you record this? He said, Hal, you're a mess right now. Are you sure I'm going to record this? I said, I've been recording all these positive messages. When I, in this my positive mindset, I want to capture what I would argue this is the most painful moment of my entire life. And I want to capture it. And I just started talking to the camera. And I said, this doesn't change as I'm bawling my eyes out, that I am grateful for the pain that I'm experiencing right now. It's the worst pain I've had in my life because this is part of my life. You can't have the good without the bad. And this is, if I get through this, I can get through anything, y'all. I'm telling you, this is hard. But if I get through this, so literally the B in the ABCs, once you've accepted reality as it is and now you're at peace, you then move beyond peace to gratitude by being grateful. Be grateful for every moment of your life.
And the final piece of the ABCs of a miracle life is C. Choose your optimal state of consciousness. For many people, that's easier said than done.
It gets easier when you go, the A and the B and the C, they are sequential. So when you accept life as it is, you allow yourself to be at peace with the things you can't change. And by the way, I want to explain to everyone, if I were you, to make this integrated into your life, I would commit to a 7-day challenge. You do a 30-day challenge, but 7 days is easy to wrap your head around. You might forget on day 14. 7 days. For the next 7 days, live by the 5-minute rule. Every time you find yourself upset, set the timer for 5 minutes. Give yourself space to feel your emotions, cuss, moan. Don't censor yourself. Feel it. In fact, the more you can express it, this is not fair. Like the more you can express it, the more you're allowing yourself to release it and to alchemize those painful emotions into the state of peace, which is 5-minute timer goes off. You go, oh, can't change it. I can't change what happened 5 minutes ago. So right now I got a choice. I can continue to resist reality and be upset, or I can be at peace. Once you get into peace, and it'll be easier said than done at first, but it'll get easier every single time you set that 5-minute timer. You will evolve and develop yourself into someone that can actually get to peace quickly until eventually you won't need the 5 minutes. You'll set your timer for 5 minutes and go, 30 seconds in, you go, what's the point of wasting my 4.5 minutes being upset? I'll just say can't change it and move on now. That allows you at peace. Then the being grateful allows you to transcend peace and go beyond that to actually being in a state of, wow, although I'm facing challenges in my life right now, I have so much to be grateful for. And then choosing your optimal state of consciousness, that could be moving into a state of love or a state of, for me, I call it inner freedom. It's the most fundamental state of consciousness where it's the state where you get to just choose. Or for me, sometimes it's bliss. I want to be in a state of just joy, love, gratitude, all of that wrapped up with a bow to me is a state of bliss. Just like life's amazing. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it sucks. Yes, I broke my ankle yesterday. Yes, I am 50 grand in debt right now. But this moment is the best moment of my life, so I might as well enjoy this one life that I've been blessed to live. So your state of consciousness is the optimal state. You're going from acceptance of peace, which is peace, to gratitude, which is being aware of what you have to be grateful for, to now what's your optimal state of consciousness. And then in the new edition of the Miracle Morning, I teach the emotional optimization meditation, which allows you, it walks you through the steps to hardwire your optimal state of consciousness so that it can become your default state of consciousness, where it's without even thinking about it, you just get to wake up every day feeling grateful, feeling joyful, feeling blissful.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Hal. Remind our listeners how they can get in contact with you and learn more about your work.
MiracleMorning.com is the hub for everything. You can order the Miracle Morning book from there. It'll redirect you to Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com. But you can also watch the Miracle Morning movie for free at miraclemorning.com. The movie's free. You can also download the Miracle Morning app for the iPhone or Android phone. That also is a free app with a premium option. But yeah, so there's a lot of free resources, but everything is available at miraclemorning.com.
I hope this episode has provided you with valuable insights. If it has, I ask you to share it with someone who would also benefit from it. If you've been enjoying and gaining knowledge from this podcast, then subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can find all the previous episodes of the podcast and additional learning resources. You can also subscribe to the podcast on Apple or Spotify and leave up to a 5-star review.